should be live.
Cool.
There we go. So I usually take a few questions from the chat at the end.
Okay.
Just in case anyone else has anything to ask. Hey, Skylar. All right. Let me pull up the questions, and we should be all good to go.
Sounds good.
So first question we have is, what got you interested in building and Lego in general?
Honestly, I'm one of those rare people that's kind of late to the game. Everybody kind of has Lego around their house as a child, and they kind of built as a child and work from there. I didn't have all of this stuff with me until about 4 years ago, when I got that random, the first Lego set for the birthday sort of thing. And then from there, it just all kind of exploded.
Yeah, it's I definitely am the complete opposite. I've had it pretty much forever because my dad had stuff and then he gave it to me, and so I've had it forever. So I've kind of been able to have it around me. So I've kind of been able to grow up with it, and so. What made you decide to start YouTube?
YouTube kind of started because I saw other people, building the same thing. Actually, I looked up. I hate to admit this, but I looked up Zombies back in the day, and I actually found him on Google Images, and I decided to build something from Google Images because I didn't honestly even know YouTube existed. And then it brought me to a link, and from there I decided to do my own videos.
Nice. I'm not gonna lie, I actually still watch Zombies all the
Yeah.
time. Another good one is my different username.
Yep, I was just actually coming from his live stream on Twitch right now. He's currently streaming.
Oh, cool. Do you have a favorite YouTuber, and if so, who is it?
I base my favorite YouTuber off of people that I've met in person because a lot of YouTubers you can see online and then skip to the next one. But I think Nick Brick, for those of you who don't know, he's also a fellow gun builder. But I think he's also one of the best people I've ever met. He's really fun to hang around with at conventions, and he's taught me a lot as I'm going through all these years of building.
Nice. Did he build the Fortnite Scar at Brickbuilt Chicago?
That was actually Brick Builder Studios, or Lee, for those of you guys who know him, one of our new Replicas members.
Yeah, I've talked to him on Discord a little bit. What mock that you have built would you like to go back and redo or change?
Honestly, I'd like to see what I could do going back to my very first build, because I remember back in the day I used to think it was really cool to paint pieces, which now looking back is not necessarily purist. So I'd love to. I did like a little mini Nerf gun back in the day. I think that was like my very first build, and I was so proud of painting the logo on the sides.
Yeah,
I think I'd like to see what I could do, with some actual building now.
Yeah, I've actually have an idea for a collaboration that I want to do. It's called Years of YouTube, and I'm gonna get people that have been on YouTube from 1 year to 10 years, and it's gonna be a collaboration rebuilding their first mock, just as good as they can now.
Okay.
So that's something I've been wanting to do because I've been on YouTube for about 5.5 years now, or a little bit more.
All right.
So that's something I've kind of thought about doing, going off of your answer. You're rebuilding your first build. So
right.
I always thought that would be kind of a neat thing, just to kind of see what you can do now based off of your first mock ideas.
Yeah, exactly, because I'd rather not paint it this time.
Yeah. Inspiration in the Lego community.
Biggest inspiration. Honestly, that'd probably go back to my favorite YouTuber because Nick's one of the few people that really brought me into the community. But in particular, we spend days after days on Snapchat sending techniques and stuff like that, and we're constantly coming up with new things together.
Right.
And he's the one that if he sends me a technique, he's, oh, great, I got to build that, and then I'll build it, and then I'll work on the next part of it, and then I end up with a whole build from there. So I think it's kind of cool to see what I could do based off of his techniques.
Cool. What is your favorite part to you? Oh wait, no, sorry. What weapons and replicas rather than mocks like what I build or other people build?
What about them?
What made you decide to build them besides like
Uh,
baseplate mocks?
I honestly think it was because when I started going on YouTube, I didn't really know how to use it right. And that was the first thing that I found because I was so big into the gaming side of things. So the first thing I found was these, life-size Lego weapons. And that was all I kind of came up on my YouTube suggested. And I didn't really know this whole other side of YouTube had existed for so many years. Because, people like Chris have been on here for multiple years, but I never even knew that side of YouTube existed. So I followed a path and didn't even know about the other one.
Interesting. What is your favorite part to use? Like that you use the most and is your favorite?
I have a little bit of a bias here because I'm a little addicted to the color, but my specific favorite piece is the 1x2 purple tile. That's something I'm slightly addicted to. If people check out, the Instagram and things like that. I'm always buying a purple pab cup everywhere I go.
One question, was Ryan correct, or M&R Productions, was he who bought two tiles at Brickbuilt Chicago?
I was kind of sad because I arrived a little bit later, and by that time there was only like a small cup left. So
Oh,
I would have ideally loved to have bought the box, but I think somebody got to it before I did.
ah. Um, what is the most useful part to have when building weapons?
I think in particular, it's always evolving because there's so many new pieces coming out. Let me see what I can find over here. There is a new piece that people are loving in the community. It's the 1x2 slope with the cutout at the top. It's almost like a cheese slope with a plate attached to
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah.
That's been great for the sides because it allows you to build off of it and put tiles on top and things like that. But just in particular, I think for me, it's the cheese slopes or tiles. They're really basic, but they do so much for making it look better.
Yeah, because I mean, like my first build was just a small pistol that looked more like a box,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get it to look right because I had plates and things like that instead of tiles, and so it just looked so blocky and weird.
Yep.
Um, what was the most challenging build you have built?
I think I'm honestly still in the process of figuring that out because I wouldn't say they've really been that challenging as I went along. The stud shooters, I would say one of the biggest challenges so far because I had to figure out my own way to make a circle that was almost perfect at a larger scale.
Mm,
It's all broken up. I could actually kind of show the techniques that I use, but it's still, broken after the Chicago flight. But I had to figure out a way to make a ring, but line it up so that all of the slopes actually lined up around the outside to make a circle. I think that
that's
was kind of a fun challenge to do in a day. So I think the time constraints made it rough.
yeah. How often can you build? Like, how often are you able to build?
I am not able to build as much as I would have liked because when I started YouTube, I had so much free time. But this year, people always use school as the excuse. But I was involved in some really difficult stuff in high school where I was taking, college level courses. So I graduated and all that stuff about 2 weeks ago. So now I'm in full panic building mode, trying to catch up to all the years that I've lost.
Yeah,
But I've still got things that I can build but not really show because it's more of a big reveal that I'm hoping for. So I'm building on the side, people just don't see it.
cool. Do you mostly upload to YouTube or do you
Um,
do other things on?
Mostly everything goes to YouTube. I've started to experiment a little bit recently. I moved over to Flickr, I want to say a couple months ago, just to kind of test it out, and I think that went really well. Plus, Instagram was really successful with Counter-Strike. I didn't realize how big of a community it has there. So
Mm,
that was something that I could post over there to be successful.
cool. Have you or will you ever build base plate mocks?
I have, but I've realized that I'm not necessarily great at it. I participated in a lot of the Rebel collaborations, like we just recently had the Zoo and then Kingdoms at
Mm,
War. And those, I mean, if I put a lot more time and effort into them over the years, I think I could get better. But at this stage right now, it's not the type of content that I'm really that good at.
is it something in or is it just kind of you're not really interested in it, so you're not going to put too much time into
I'm
it?
actually really interested in it. I remember back in the day when Rogue One came out, I wanted to actually do a series of large scale builds, and I started to do it, and I got interested. But I just realized that I kept, going back to my guns as I was working on that, and I felt kind of bad about it.
Really hard to change a habit that you have,
Huh.
especially once you've started building in one theme for so long and then
Right. Because I'm
start
one of
getting
those
used to
people
something
that,
else.
Nick is really great at experimenting. He can do all these small character figures and things like that, but I can't necessarily do it as well as him, so I just stick to my own genre.
Cool. How long does it take on average to do a build for you?
Well, it honestly depends how much I procrastinate. But for the most part, it's around 2 weeks per build. Maybe I'll take an extra week or so to kind of fiddle around with it and change a little bit of parts.
It's definitely better than me. I mean, I take months on
Right.
end to do one build. Um, do you find getting weird angles and slopes to be a challenge, or have you gotten used to it? Is
Um,
it
I
still
think
difficult?
I think I've started to experiment recently. I have what a lot of builders call table scraps, where you just kind of throw a bunch of pieces together and see what kind of shapes you can make. And I've started to experiment with a lot of the new pieces that they have. I don't know if I could find any, but all these new modified tiles, the ones that are like triangles or cutouts or
Yeah.
things like that, I've really been involved with messing around with those to make fun shapes.
Yeah, I've the triangle ones have definitely helped to me. I've ordered a few just because I find just recently I found out tiles are extremely useful even in base plate mocks.
Yeah.
Um, and I've started to experiment with them, trying to get different weird shapes on the floors and stuff, just so it doesn't look all even and symmetrical and boring. So it's definitely a fun thing to try to work with shapes, but I'm not that great with it.
Yeah, I
Figuring
wouldn't
out.
say I'm great by any means either, but I think it's just fun to mess around with.
Yeah. Um, what is your top three tips if anyone uh wanted to build replica weapons like you?
Oh, Um, the I don't really have ways to push people to build like I do because I think that's one of the great things about the community is that everybody's found their own style. Like you were talking about my different username earlier. He's got his own path that he follows. Nick's got his own path. Zotzi puts chrome on everything, so he's got his own path. But I think what's kind of cool is to spend maybe, 2 or 3 months messing around with it, finding your own style, finding what works and what definitely doesn't. I don't think there's necessarily like a specific way you can learn to build because we all did it on our own.
Yeah. I have a few more questions, but everybody, if you have questions, go ahead and start putting them in. You can keep the flow of things going. And what would you say your favorite build at Brickworld Chicago was at the Rebel Ug display?
Ooh. I was a huge sucker for
Now, don't think I'm trying to put you on the spot saying like which builder is your favorite. Just
right,
like,
right. No, I think everybody did a pretty good job at building overall. There were a lot of things that surprised me because, we talk on a daily basis and then
mhm,
these random builds will just come out of nowhere. I think Finn was the most surprising with his mosaic. It wasn't over with Replicas, but that just kind of came out of nowhere. But I think Finn's Stranger Things build was the most technically impressive because it was something that was kind of out of the blue where it had this giant metal stand and it was both a top and a bottom build. I think for me, it was something new and really impressive to mess with, especially the lighting.
have you seen Stranger Things?
I have. I've watched both of the seasons.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun series. So the only reason I ended up watching it is because series on it. If it
Yeah.
weren't for him building that, I probably would never watch it.
No, no, he did.
Um,
He did a really good job of capturing the real look of it.
oh yeah. Did he ever take off the roof? Because he did a full interior on both, did he? Didn't he?
I could imagine he did, but I didn't. Unfortunately, spend enough time with Rebelug this year. I was mostly with a lot of the gamer lug side of things with all the gun builders. I felt kind of bad about that. I was trying to split my time evenly between the two groups, but I I didn't try as hard as I probably could have.
How many lugs are you in?
I'm currently in two of them, but I talk with members from a lot of them.
Oh, okay. Arm Fortis asks, what kind of weapons are your favorite to make? Is it sci-fi, modern, World War II, video games, etc.?
I think sci-fi video games are probably the best thing. I remember back in the day when I was obsessed with Halo. I was one of those, cringy Halo kids back in my youth. So I started off doing some of the really massive Halo weapons, and they were really fun to do. I think that's kind of what shaped the basis of my channel.
Cool. Do you have any projects that you would like to share on?
Sure. The only problem is I got back from Chicago
Yep.
somewhat recently, and I brought all my weapons in a gun case, so they're kind of all disassembled right now. I started putting them back together yesterday because I've got the shotgun to finally film today because it's been finished since November, and I've just been honestly too lazy to film. But I've got projects here and there under the desk. I'll be experimenting with different types of parts, and then eventually I'll kind of throw it all together like Destiny builds and such. I've unfortunately given into the trends, and I've got a Fortnite build that is 90% done under my desk. It kind of hurts to look at, but I thought it would be kind of fun to do.
I'm not gonna lie, on my TV right in front of me, I have Fortnite loaded up. I'm not gonna lie. What games are you most interested in? Off the topic of Lego, but
Um, I just recently got back into Portal for some weird reason. Steam was doing a sale, and I've never played it on my computer. So I was in a call with Chris, and we figured, hey, might as well download it for $2, and it's been really fun to play. I've always been a kid that's been shaped by Halo in particular. It was actually my first shooter game back in 2011, I think, is when I got the Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, and from there I just got addicted to the series.
cool. Did you build any did you build any builds before you started YouTube and started sharing them?
Not really. I think that Nerf gun was really where it all began because I didn't really have Lego until a couple of years ago. I'm really new to this whole thing.
Well, for being new, you've really come a long way.
Yeah, I
Not
really
many
have Nick to thank for that.
not many people can build weapons can as good as you, but let alone build weapons. It's just there's not many people who do it, let alone there's only like the few of like you, uh Zati Nambi's, my different username and Nick Bricks and a few other people that actually do weapons. But other than that, there's not really too many other people that I know of.
Right, because I bring a lot of people into the community. That's kind of my, I guess, job is I'll find some of the smaller YouTube channels and I'll bring them into our group. There really isn't a lot anymore because, you could go into the whole controversies of gun building, but I don't really want to bore viewers with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's just I kind of been hesitant just because first first one was pretty atrocious. If I had a picture, I show you, but
I mean, yeah, I could screen share right now and show you the build. It's nothing I'm proud of. I've been tempted to privatize the videos so many times. So I've privatized it and then made it public again because it's one of the most viewed builds on my channel. I hate to say it.
yeah, it's usually my first few mocks have definitely been my most viewed, and I'm just like, why do you guys want to see that? Come at least come and see what I can build now. Don't just because I see so many views on my older videos and not as many on my newer ones, and I'm like, those people who have seen that, they're thinking that that's still what I'm building, but they haven't seen what I can build now.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Let's see. When building a mock that usually fires, how do you work with power functions, EV3, etc.?
Sure. That's one of the things that I get questions of a lot because I can imagine a lot of kids are, very interested in the firing mechanism of it. But for me, it's personally something that I've never experimented with. I did it on a crossbow a couple of times, but that's pretty much required when you're building something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I never make my gun shoot because I prefer to do the looks. The problem I have when I do barrels is they're normally made with, the 2x2 cylindrical bricks. So
Yeah.
they only have that small hole through the center of it that you can't really shoot anything out of.
Yeah,
I,
because it's not a pinhole, it's the axle hole. So
right. So I prefer to make something that looks more accurate rather than firing because the firing seems kind of unnecessary for me. Because I make replicas, and the purpose of replicas is to look exactly like it.
yeah, have you ever built any that are not like weapon related?
I have. I kind of lost them at Chicago because I was displaying with another lug and I forgot to pick them back up. But I've been experimenting recently with building challenges that we're doing in our Discord server. It's almost like if you've ever heard of the ABS Builders Challenge from Flickr, where they have to use like a single part and create a bunch of builds off of that. I think it's a really cool concept. So I did, a couple pieces, a couple things with stud shooters or chairs, just to do little fun builds on the side.
Cool. Now, if you did do base plate mocks, what theme would you build?
I think I'd like to see a return to the Halo days, to be completely honest. Because I think Sean or TRL Lego fan was one of the big, Star Wars Halo mock builders back in the day. And once he kind of went quiet, everybody else died as well. And I miss seeing those big base blade builds of, spires and warthog battles and all those really cool things that I had in my childhood. I'd love to bring that back.
Yeah, it's the only thing that kind of stinks is since Mega Bloks has the theme, I don't think that's ever gonna come over to Lego ever.
Yeah.
Just because again, it's a more violent theme, and so Lego probably won't ever take that up. That's kind of the same way I feel about Call of Duty because I've played Call of Duty for a long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, probably never gonna happen for Lego.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So to get the Halo figures and stuff, you have to spend so much money and stuff just to get those figures, which is the kind of why military is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a dying theme.
Yeah, and I think that's also just because people don't really find a lot of interest in it anymore. They like all the moving parts on builds nowadays.
Yeah. Do you shoot firearms in real life? That's kind of an odd
I
question.
have actually. I'm not, a constant weapons tester or anything like that. I have been shooting before because I think it's something that you should generally at least know how to do. I have shot some very basic weapons. My first one was a Ruger 1022 rifle. It's nothing fancy, but it's something that I think I could go and enjoy because my different username or Kyle, he's an avid gun user in Nevada. He goes out to firing ranges all the time, and he looks like he's having a lot of fun with it. I think it could be fun.
It's definitely something that I think should be known how to do by people just for safety reasons and things. But I mean, as you can see, when put in the wrong hands, it can cause trouble. But you just have to.
For sure, I think it's fun. If it were less expensive, I'd be doing it a lot more.
Oh yeah, it's yeah. Nothing. Let's see. How do you get the money to be able to build them?
I ask myself that question every day when I make another Bricklink order. I don't have any source of income. YouTube pays about $4 a month or something dumb like that. So I honestly have to hope and pray that I don't run dry on money and I just do random orders at 12 o'clock at night when I'm not thinking.
It's kind of how I am. I'm just do kind of housework and stuff for things like that. But now, how far of a drive is it for a place like Brickworld Chicago? Or
I'm over in California, in Southern California, actually. So I have to fly out there, and that's still like a 4-hour flight or something like that.
How much questioning do you get when you bring a gun case?
I had a really fun experience with that, actually. I think I put it on Twitter, but when I was bringing my 3 guns I had in a gun case, they made me open it up in the middle of the airport as all of the public was walking by. So I was really glad that I had that yellow AK in there because it didn't look real. So that was at least the one thing that I could have to show, like, hey guys, wait, before you freak out, these aren't real guns, these are Lego. And the TSA officers, they were all laughing and they were asking what my channel was and all those things. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah. Where did you personally stay when you were at Brickworld Chicago? Did you stay at the hotel?
I made the expensive decision to stay at the Renaissance, and that was a little rough.
How far away does Danny live? Because so many people were staying with him. He must be
I
pretty
think it's
close.
like a 40-minute drive, but that's more because of tradition. Because when Rebelug was first founded, it was Danny, Chris, and a couple of others that were staying at his house, and they would drive out there. So they just kind of kept the tradition.
Oh, okay. How long have you been in Rebelug?
I got in last year at the end of Brickworld Chicago,
Oh,
after I participated in the Scarif collab and all that kind of stuff.
did you build for that collab? Just some of the
I did
islands?
before I was actually in the lug because I knew Chris pretty well, and it was more of a helping out sort of thing
Oh yeah, because I know he wasn't able to
to finish it.
finish it all.
Yeah,
Which I talked to him about that when I did his interview.
right.
Um, have you ever thought of if you had to build something other than weapons, what would you build? Like, aren't weapons? Would you do base plate mocks, or would you try to figure something else out?
I think I tried to do something new. One of the personal issues that I have is that there are so many people building nowadays that it seems like everything's becoming the same. Like every day I go on Flickr, oh, another castle, here we go. And it's good looking, but it's the same theme again. I
Yeah,
think I'd probably make some sort of new theme. I don't know what I would make, but I'd try and figure something a little different that makes it stand out.
yeah. Something I saw at Brickworld Chicago that was kind of interesting. I've never seen the show, but there was a build there that I saw on some vlogs, I think. But things like that I've always thought were interesting, where they build like close to life size things like that.
Right.
So it's kind of in the same genre of what you do, building replicas, but
Mm.
it's just kind of building life size of different things other than.
Right.
So I always thought those were kind of neat type things to build,
Yeah, I could see that.
but so many limitations because you can only because you have to get the faceplate mocks. There's only so many themes that you can build in before
Right.
there's no more figures like to support that theme.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to build, I don't know, let's just there's some like a random movie you wanted to replicate something from, you might not be able to find figures that support that mock or that even resemble them
Yeah.
and
That's been a
like
problem
that.
for me because I don't even really have figures to begin with. I sold most of them actually at Chicago this last time because I honestly have no use for them.
Yeah. I mean, how do you sort your parts?
I could show you, but my camera would probably make a lot of noise. I've got a lot of these. I'll just grab them. I've got a lot of these 3 drawer tall stack on bins. These things are one of my personal favorites because I have a lot of specialty pieces that I put in there, like this,
Okay.
the chrome gold bin and all that stuff. But I also use the Acro Mills, where it's like that giant box of a bunch of miniature pull-out drawers. Those things have been extremely helpful for the specific little pieces because I sort mostly by part and not by color, and I don't really have a lot of parts in comparison to larger builders, so I just kind of throw things in there.
Okay. It says, say you are building a Call of Duty mock. How much do you play in order to build the mock?
I when I play, I procrastinate, so I probably play a little bit too much. We have this thing in Gamerlog, they call it research views. It's actually kind of funny because we'll hop on Discord and go into a game to get screenshots of a build, but we'll end up playing the game the whole day and not even build. So we kind of regret that. But normally I don't play the game anymore when I build. I'll go to Google and I'll look up images of it or something like that, and then I'll scale it from there.
Do you still play games often or?
Not really. It's not something that I've honestly found the time to do, other than, you probably heard the legends of us and Minecraft. Is a little time
Again,
consuming.
I talked to Chris about that. He kind of I busted him. He's
Yeah, we put a lot of hours into it, and I am at least not ashamed to admit it.
yeah. He was just he. The first thing he said is, "How could you expose me like that?"
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not something we like to talk about all the time.
yeah. It's it's
Guilty
definitely
pleasure.
good. Yeah, it's do you ever build in Minecraft like replica weapons?
I used to. when I was a youngster, but it wasn't. I was never good at building in Minecraft. I
Yeah,
just play on
neither.
servers now at this point.
Yeah. So you guys just do that for kind of like
It's more
group.
like bonding experiences, just for fun, to yell at people and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the most fun thing to do. Just yell at
Yeah.
people. Well, I'm out of questions. Does anyone else have any last minute questions? Or
We'll wait for the chat to load.
yeah, because I don't want to just end off when someone's in the middle of typing a question or something. Oh, thanks. Thank you for that sub.
Ooh.
All right. Are you wait, what? Are your friends mock builders or do they not share the same passion?
I'm actually just so spread out at this point that I've got friends in different types of regions because I've got, everybody's got their school friends. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in so many communities that I've got friends in Gamerlog, I've got friends in Rebelug, I've got friends in Innovalug. They're all just kind of all over the place. So I'm in, 5 different Discord calls a day going all over the place. But at the core of it all is still my solid school friend group that I say I'd stick around with the most. I've got a friend that actually lives like 5 minutes from me that also does gun builds and is a pretty prominent member in the community. I won't divulge personal information just for his sake, but it's kind of fun when we do hang out and build. We've done some collaborations.
It's cool. I've only done one collaboration with friends. Some people might remember it, but I did a AT-AT ambush mock on Endor, and he just came over and we were hanging out, and he asked if we could build something. He wanted to try to build it because he's starting to kind of fall away from Lego,
Mm-hmm.
and we just ended up starting the build. And I didn't have an AT-AT at the time, but he did, and he's asked if I wanted to have it just to borrow it for the mock, and then I'd give it back at the end. He comes over with the everything, and then and I said, well, I'm not gonna be breaking it. He's like, oh, it's yours.
Yeah.
And so that's really the only collaboration I've ever done. That's like personal collaboration where it's two people working on the same mock.
Right.
Other than
That's
that,
what I love about being online now is the opportunity for online collaborations happening all the time. The way our Rainbow Six Siege collaboration came together for Gamerlog, I think, was one of the coolest things.
where'd you post that? Because I play.
That'll be up probably today. I've got to actually film the shotgun and a couple other things, but a lot of them are posted on Nick's Flickr, and most of
Okay.
them are, video outtakes of us dropping our builds and things like that. It was pretty funny because it was 5 in the morning when we were trying to get everybody together to kind of film all of this.
Yeah, I've been a part of a few online collaborations, but I was in a group of people who never actually went through with their part of the build, and so that all kind of
We did
fell
that a
apart.
lot, yeah.
Which is one of the main reasons why I'm trying to get into Rebelug, because I would love to be able to be in a group that will follow through. Because from what I've seen, I've already kind of come to trust a lot of the members of Rebelug to follow through with what they need to be done. Because I haven't seen many times where they haven't come through with what they need to have done.
That's one of the cool things is that we're able to present it in a way that makes it look like that. I will be completely honest and say there are some members that just will be either building at Chicago, they won't even do their part, and will delay all the deadlines and stuff. We have planning issues, but I think what's cool about it is it does come together in the end and look very professional, even amidst all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Now, would would you say it's a very like organized group, and is it a official lug now, or
I would say it's getting there. It's really close to it. The problem is we're a little bit on the younger side. We don't have necessarily that experience. So I think
Mhm.
everybody's doing a really good job of being more professional now. in the past we've been very disorganized and kind of all over the place, especially with the amount of members we have. We're one of the larger groups. I think we're up to like 32 members now or something like that.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to kind of get, once you have a new person, how to incorporate them with the core group that we have and not have, all these different factions kind of splitting within the group itself.
Yeah, because I mean, with 32 members or however many there are, you can't do, you. There's no way you're going to be able to do a one collaboration with everyone in it.
Yeah.
There's just no way you're going to be able to do that because that's just going to, first of all, take too much time. Second of all, way too many like places that there could be an error
Hmm.
and things like that. So it's just kind of, I could see how it's kind of could get a little bit chaotic.
Oh yeah, especially because Rebel like right now is at the point where it was founded originally on all the Star Wars builders, but now we've been a little bit more diverse. I mean, people like me that don't even do the actual terrain builds or things like that. So it's kind of interesting trying to figure out how to incorporate all of these different types of builders into one
Mhm.
collaboration.
That's kind of where I came up with the idea of that year builder thing where it's everyone builds their first mock and just redoes it. It doesn't matter if it's the same theme, but you're all working on the same collaboration, like you're working on that. I'm trying to get some people in Rebelug to possibly do it, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to try to work through, sift through people who don't want to do it and try to find who's interested. Just because
right.
I know a lot of you guys are in college and
Yes.
things like that, so it's kind of hard to
It's really
get.
tough for even me to get in contact with some of them. I try.
Yeah, and I mean you have like a dedicated server with them. I'm
Yeah.
just me. I don't want to at people in the chat because then everyone
Yeah.
else starts getting in the conversation. It's like, no, I just want to talk to him about this.
Yeah, and I think what's cool about these guys is they may seem, kind of closed off or things like that, but if you reach out and send them a personal message, they're really not that flustered by it. People
Oh
like
yeah,
me, I'll get a message and I'll respond to it. It's not really much of an issue, I think.
no, yeah. I've tried not to bother you guys too much, but I I send Danny and Chris a lot of letters, just trying to get their opinions on things.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to get into Rebelug at this point.
Yeah, they're great people to reach out to. They're really good. They're really good guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time I tried was in January. I didn't even know until his build like his battle pack building stream.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about it, but then I started talking with him there, and he told me about the Discord channel and everything, and so I finally started getting into channel. And
Well, what I
so,
would honestly recommend is something that really surprised me is the Chicago voting that we did. If you ever have the chance to make it out there, a lot of people I met honestly for the first time. If you know Peter or what he's now Spartan Bricks,
mhm,
um, he's one of our newest members that we accepted in Chicago. I had never even followed the guy on Instagram or checked out his social media. I wasn't entirely open to the idea, but after I started talking to the guy, he's pretty much one of my most solid friends right now. It's really cool to have, that personal experience with people like
mhm.
this that I think it will open up a lot of them to new ideas.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's not all. They're not only looking for builders; they're looking for people that aren't that like Lifebrick Studios. He is an amazing builder, but issues caused things to
Yeah.
not work out and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go into detail about
Yeah.
that because, but like, I mean, you don't only have to be a good builder. You have to be a nice person and try to not necessarily fit in, but just kind of.
Yeah, it's a tough place because we're trying to figure out our own criteria where sure a lot of us make really dumb jokes. To what extent do we allow that in other people now, or else are we being hypocrites? So we're still in the process of trying to figure all that out.
Yeah. Um, let's just get a few more, one or two more questions. No, I'm not in any lug right now. I've kind of that it was all just causing problems. So I kind of no, they're still going. I think I don't see any more questions.
Okay.
How often do you get people conventions to like
Sorry,
meet
you cut
you?
out a little bit there.
How often do people come up to you at conventions to talk with you and meet you and stuff?
I'm not honestly that well known. I'm absolutely willing to admit it. A lot of people didn't really come up to talk to me during the public days. Like I hate to say it, but I really did think there would be, a couple people that would walk up and say, "Hey, I've seen your stuff before. How'd you do this?" and all that stuff. But I didn't really hang around the public a lot this year. I'm one of those adults. It's like, oh, let's go get breakfast and run away from all these people. Uh,
Yeah,
but I did get recognized by a couple people, but what's cool is a lot more Lego builders in particular knew who I was now, compared to last year where it was my first year ever at conventions, so I was kind of a newbie to all this. So it's
yeah.
kind of nice to kind of talk to people like, Grant Davis and have them actually be receptive to who I was and
Mm.
then actually be, open to talking for an hour or so.
How could you? He said he saw you, but he didn't say anything.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Like I saw people posting pictures of my builds and stuff like that and tagging me in it. But I would be entirely willing to have conversations. I think I was just spread out too much. I was going to Gamerlog, Rebelog, running all over the place, so I was all over the place.
Yeah. Would you? How many conventions have you been to?
It all started 2017 with World War Brick in California. I've been to about four of them now. So I'm
I've
still relatively new to all this stuff, but I think I'll be going to Virginia in this August.
nice. I've been to World War Brick in Denver.
Mhm.
On their way back from, they stopped through Denver, and I saw some. I as big as the Anaheim convention
Right.
because I think just one of their trucks stopped by and at a veterans like bar,
Okay.
and they set up all their stuff. And but that's pretty much the extent of my conventions. But it's definitely something I'd like. But there's
Yeah, it's
I
expensive, but it's really a great way of putting yourself out there because
yeah.
people love to have those one-on-one conversations in person. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, me living in Colorado, there are no conventions in Colorado.
Yeah.
Like I missed one 2 years ago when I wasn't really looking for conventions, but that's the only one that I've seen really ever.
Right.
Um, how did you start getting connections with lug and just lugs in general?
One of the things that I'm willing to brag about for myself is that I'm good when it comes to talking. So honestly, it's just about saying the right things to the right people. I was able to kind of work my way into the community slowly. But it really, again, does come down to Nick, I'd say for the most part. He's been my key basically into this whole thing, and then he was able to allow me to branch out from there.
Yeah, mine would definitely be Luke or First Order Legos.
Yeah.
He it he came to my channel in a couple of over a year ago now, and he said, I subscribe to you. Could you come and subscribe to me?" And so I said, "Sure." I mean, he was building great mocks. There was no reason not to. And then a couple of months later, he got into Rebelug, and then I started kind of getting connections. And now I'm starting to kind of work
Right.
into
Yeah,
the Rebelug group a little bit.
it's a process.
Yeah, and then I mean, I'd say I'm get getting to know Matt or the Brick Wiz and Rich Boy J and Garrett that pretty well. Um, Actually, Rich Boy J and Garrett were supposed to be on the interview today, but they're it's kind of hard to contact them.
Yeah, a little bit.
So it's kind of been hard to set something up.
I get it.
But have you ever thought of doing like a type of like podcasts like what Chris and M&R Productions are doing? Or
I don't know. I think my guess is since I know Ryan pretty well, he'll probably reach out to me in the next couple weeks or so to star in it. But I don't really see the point of me doing it on my own. I don't really think I'm that interesting for a continued amount of time. I could have some topics and do it every once in a while, but I don't see it being a consistent thing. I've done live streams and they don't really feel natural to me. It doesn't feel like I really get anything out of it because I love talking to people face to face
Yeah.
rather than looking at a chat message and responding to that. That's not really the way I work that well.
Yeah, I prefer to talk. I mean, once you start YouTube, you kind of have to be willing to talk.
Yeah.
It's kind of face to face, but it's not really.
Yeah, YouTube's been the best thing in terms of actually teaching people speaking skills. I mean, I 2 years ago wasn't even able to have a conversation with adults, but now because all this commentary and stuff like that over the course of the years, it's been great for speaking.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I from my first video, I can already tell my talking skills have gotten so much better. I was always stuttering and like
Yeah,
constantly like one thing I always did is I would always go uh
yeah,
like think of what I wanted to say and I'd be like and this and then right
right.
now it's like, oh, what was I doing? But now it's starting to get a little bit more fluent and I'm being able to talk about what I want to do and I'm just kind of thinking ahead. As it's said in baseball, I'm forming my play in my head before it happens.
Yes.
So I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to talk about this and then I'll move over to this. And I'm trying to kind of sweep across whatever I'm talking about instead of just kind of jumping around,
Yeah, it just becomes a
which
lot more
helps a
natural.
lot. Yeah. Well, if no one else has anything to ask, then I think we'll wrap it up. I used to be really shy, but I've come more outgoing with YouTube. Is that what you mean too? Yeah, that's pretty much what we're saying.
That's exactly what I mean because I was the really shy kid, that only had one solid friend, even up to the beginning of high school. But the second I started all this, now I'm going to parties on a daily basis. I can't even be at my own house for once, and I think it's been the best thing in terms of that.
Yeah. Now, have you ever thought of like getting a special room for your studio, if you will?
Oh, I wish. I really do. I've been trying to convince my dad to take another downstairs room that we have for guests, but for now I am confined to this lovely small bedroom to throw my things around. That's why the floor is always just filled with pieces because there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, that's kind of how my parents, because I've kind of taken over the majority of the basement.
Yeah.
They want me. They've tried to keep me in this little area, but it just keeps creeping out and out. And
Yep.
then I clean it up. It all gets back organized. And for like a week, I'm building very organized. When I'm done with a bucket, I put it back. And then I'll send you a picture after this.
Okay.
It's kind of chaotic.
Well, yeah, I'm still in the post Chicago sorting stuff, so I've got a bunch of sets I just recently parted out, and I'm still working on half of them, maybe.
Yeah. I'm Yeah, it's definitely something I need to work on. I was talking to Danny about it a little bit, how I need to get my sorting done. I have I think it's like a 10-gallon bucket
Yeah.
filled with Lego that I just need to sort.
What I think it was Chris that was talking about this to me. One of those late night calls is he said he sorts a pick a brick cup a day, where he'll basically just go into his bin, put a pab cup in there, and then sort that out for the day. And it's a really great way of just taking care of a lot of it.
It's a good idea. I usually just kind of go on a craze for like 3 days and just sort out as much as I can, and then it goes all back into shambles for a couple of months until I get another 2 weeks that I decide to go again.
Yeah,
But that's actually a really good idea.
nice idea. I think it's a little bit more consistent. It's great to get into a ritual of it to keep it sorted.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the best way of sorting. Think I'm gonna start taking after what Danny's doing with like those yellow the yellow kind of bins that he has.
Yeah.
And then the drawers like you have and stuff, those are definitely something because I'm gonna be moving into it's a bigger area than what I have now that I'm gonna be moving into. But it's going to be between my gaming and Lego, so I'm going to have to kind of split it up. And so I'm going to try to figure a way to kind of have it all sorted, which is going to take more bins,
Yeah.
but make it more confined.
No,
Which
It's expensive, but I think the way I'm doing it with all these, pull-out drawers stacking up on top of each other,
Mhm.
the more you can basically get until you're up to the roof, the better it is because you can push that all to one side and then have a central floor area.
Yeah, which is kind of what I'm trying to work on now. Do you work at a desk or do you work on the floor like Zati Nambi's?
I actually do a little bit of both. I used to build on the floor all the time, and then I started having some really serious problems with my back because I was hunched over at 3 in the morning building every day. So I kind of moved over to a table. Now my keyboard's taking up a lot of that room and a bunch of sodas that I failed to throw away. But it's a little bit of both. If I have like a big thing I'm working on, I'll be on the floor. But if it's more small builds, then I'll be on the desk.
Mm. Uh, Armed Fortress, I think we can all say that. A day doesn't go by that I don't step on Lego.
Oh yeah, you get immune to it at some point. You just don't
Yeah.
feel it anymore.
I mean, we should just go for the world record of
Yeah,
walking on Lego. I've always been an organized person, so most of my pieces are sorted out OCD.
that's one of the things is I suffer from OCD. It's weird to say because of the way my room is, but I will clean every inch of the house except for my room. My room will always be the disrepair.
Yeah. I mean, like everything I do has to be organized, but then my room in my Lego area just kind of falls apart because I'm more focused on my build or what I'm doing than keeping it clean. So, and I wouldn't even say that it's like dirty. It's just in disarray, like you said. It's just all over the place.
Right.
So, well, I think that's about it. Any last minute questions, anyone? This is your last call for questions. We'll give them a couple more seconds.
Okay.
I find myself just kind of sitting after I build for a couple hours. I just find myself just sitting there, kind of looking at what I built, and just kind of I sit there for like 5 minutes, just looking and and then I end up building for another couple hours. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of a weird habit of mine.
I'll build for about an hour or so listening to music, and then I get distracted by the music itself. I'll start singing or dancing or doing something dumb, and then I'll get in a Discord call, and then I'll be gone for the rest of the day until 4 in the morning or something like that. It's
Yeah,
a sad cycle, but I want to break it sometime soon.
something I want to start doing is listening to music more instead of watching videos. I usually watch videos while I build, and it
Yeah,
kind of gets me distracted.
for sure.
I mean, I even do that when I'm sorting.
Yeah.
I just start watching Netflix or YouTube or something while I'm sorting my parts, and then it's just kind of like,
Then you start watching it.
yeah, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually a cool part, and I just sit there staring at my phone, and then my parents come down. Weren't you sorting? And I'm like, oh yeah. All right, well, I think that's about it. Thank you for coming on. If
Absolutely.
any of you haven't, links to both my gaming channel and Bryce's Lego channel are down below in the description. So make sure to go subscribe to both of those, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Bryce, for coming on,
Bye, everybody.
and see you guys later.